Hi, it's February 25th, and today I'm going to talk about beginning the growing season early by starting seedlings. Now, there's three reasons you want to start seedlings. First, because it saves you money. Now, you can go down to the local greenhouse in, say, late May and buy a bunch of plants they started and put them out in your garden, or you can start your own. Even factoring in the cost of containers and soil, it's still cost effective to start your own plants, and you'll be able to reuse those containers for years. Now, the second reason is starting your own gives you a larger variety of plants to choose from that may not be available from your local garden center. And third, since they weren't grown in a commercial greenhouse or on a farm, you know what's been put on your vegetables in the form of fertilizer and pesticides, if any. The kind of plants you want to start indoors are usually going to be non-cold hardy plants like tomatoes, peppers, squash, cucumbers, long-necked pumpkin, plants like that can't survive cold temperatures or frost. Now, plants like cabbage, lettuce, spinach, you can even start beets out early. They can be started out indoor early and set out earlier in the garden. I've even started my beets and onions as early as mid-March and put them out in the middle of April because they can take a frost and cooler temperatures. You can start your indoor planting anywhere from 2 to 12 weeks before putting your plants out in the garden. The determining factor is the average last frost date for your area. Now, you can find that online by searching for the last frost date in your town or by zip code. Where I live in Zone 6B, the last frost date is June 1st. Now, for instance, using a spring planting guide, it's recommended to start tomatoes indoors 7 weeks before the last frost date of June 1st. So that would be April 13th. Now, this is my spreadsheet that I put together that gives me everything I'm going to do for my growing season. At the top here, this is everything that I'm going to start indoors and then transplant out. This bottom section here is every one of my beds. Now, here's my 10-foot bed. So, for instance, with my tomatoes, I'm going to plant these on April 1st. And I have 5 varieties that I'm going to plant this year. I've got Jetstar, Big Beef, Brandywine, cherry, and pear tomatoes. Now, I'm going to put those in pots on April 1st, and then on May 1st, I'm going to put them outside. And then I'm going to cover them to protect them from frost, and the overnight temperatures by that time are warm enough that it won't be a problem. There's a number of mediums you can use to start your seedlings. You can use plain potting soil or a 50-50 mix of peat moss and vermiculite. I use a mix of 4 quarts of peat moss, 1 pint medium vermiculite, 1 pint of compost, and 1 pint of worm castings. Now, if you use peat moss or compost, you'll want to make sure to sift out the larger pieces using 1/4-inch hardware cloth. Now, the key to your starting medium is that it be low in nutrients. That will force the plant to develop a more aggressive root system. If you do use a low nutrient starting soil, you'll want to make sure to use a half-strength diluted fertilizer, Miracle-Gro for instance, once the main leaves have formed. Now, what I've typically used in the past to start my seeds are these standard cells. You can get these at any garden shop. Last year I did some of my start in soil blocks. This is a 3/4-inch soil block maker. I also have a 2-inch soil block maker, and this is the tray I use, and it's got the lattice work on the bottom of the tray instead of the solid bottom like you would use for these cells. You can also use peat pots, but they have a tendency to not break down quickly or even at all after planting them. So I use either the soil blocks or the cells depending on what I'm starting. I'll use the cells for tomatoes, peppers, squash, and cucumbers, for instance, because I usually have to transplant them into a larger container before getting them out to the garden. I use the styrofoam cups for that. The soil blocks are used for lettuce and other cool weather plants because I'll put them out a couple weeks after they germinate. Hope that was helpful. If it was, please hit the like button, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Back soon. Bye-bye.